Promising Young Woman, available online now, directorial debut of Emerald Fennell, who also wrote the script. The film stars Carey Mulligan, Bo Burnham, Alison Brie, Adam Brody, Alfred Molina, and Clancy Brown. If you can, try to avoid seeing even the trailer and any spoilers on the internet, because this movie is one of those that works best if you go into it completely blind. In fact, the best thing you can do is actually turn off this review and just go watch it, because it is absolutely fantastic. If you do decide to stay and listen to what I have to say, I will give the outline of the plot, which spoils really only the first 10 minutes of the film, which doesn't seem like much, but the opening sequence is so brilliantly crafted and it works best when you don't have any idea of what's going to happen, which the trailer also spoils, by the way. With warnings out of the way, let's begin with the mentioned description of the plot, which I do think is best done by actually describing that opening sequence. A bunch of dudes in their 30s are at the club drinking. They spot a girl who is clearly almost passed out drunk. Barely sits straight, doesn't look too good. They start joking around that, she's asking for trouble, that she got too drunk, that some guy is going to abuse her or something. It gets a bit uncomfortable until one of them decides to approach her and ensure that she's fine and order her a taxi home, if she needs to. He ends up taking the taxi with her and on the way changes the destination to his apartment instead. Pours her another drink. She's basically too smashed to protest, or on the other hand, to give meaningful consent. He then takes her to bed and starts undressing her, and then suddenly there's this amazing shot where she looks straight at the camera and her voice changes, and it turns out she's actually been sober the whole time, and she was just baiting the guy. And this is the main character of the film, Cassie, played by Carey Mulligan. That's how the movie starts. Why she's doing this, we don't immediately know. Is she a psycho? Is this an extortion scheme? No real idea, but we do quickly learn that this is a regular thing that keeps happening. And we get the sense that there's something important in her past that weighs in on her. It also has some impact on her life in the light of day, as it were. She still lives with her parents, even though she's in her 30s now. No boyfriend, no real group of friends aside from her boss. Dead-end job at a coffee shop. She's a med school dropout, abrasive to other people, even to customers, to the point of being rude sometimes. Very closed off from personal relationships. Until she meets Ryan, this young guy played by Bo Burnham, who is a doctor. He recognizes her from school, asks her out, and there's an immediate strong chemistry between them. And eventually she decides to, give him a chance. All the while, doing something else on the side, which has to do with the opening of the film and also the traumatic events of her past. That's how the story starts. And even though it may sound quite one-dimensional and maybe even predictable, it is anything but. It is a roller coaster of different events, twists, emotions, and even movie genres. Really, the movie has elements of rom-com, dark comedy, and I mean really, really dark comedy, indie drama, and straight-up crime thriller. It weaves those genres seamlessly, switching between different tones and atmospheres in a way that it's not that it isn't jarring, because it is, but deliberately so. The contrasts between the different sections of the movie are exaggerated for the purpose, for a specific purpose, for us to really notice that contrast, and it all works magnificently. The main themes that the movie revolves around are consent and the lack thereof, and rape and trauma as a result of the former too. And make no mistake, those are difficult topics to tackle and to watch, and the film has really uncomfortable moments, this goes both for the female perspective, and in terms of sympathizing with a female character and her point of view, but also for men, for a very different reason, for pointing out ruthlessly how we can often ignore or be condescending toward the problem that we have a hand in creating. And even if it's not a direct responsibility, because the movie also touches on the aspect of being culpable by being a witness, of knowing something wrong happened or may have happened, but sweeping it under the rug completely, not calling out the bullshit. It really is quite thought-provoking in this way, because there's often that argument that we've made mistakes when we were young and stupid, and the movie says, yeah, that may be the case, but if you cross the line, you still have a responsibility for those mistakes. you can't just wave them away because you are young and stupid, because they may have ruined someone else's life. There's also that quote by Edmund Burke that comes to mind: the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. The movie, in a wider sense, also points a finger at the various flavors of the so-called nice guys, who in reality are just assholes all the same, ready to exploit the situation in their favor. And I can imagine a lot of guys that see this film will actually be really upset. They'll say, hey, I'm not like that, and the movie it's feminist bullshit and propaganda. It makes it almost seem like most guys are assholes like this, and that's not true. And I kind of think a lot of us are, and certainly more than I would care to admit it. And of course, I'm one of the ones that consider themselves good guys, but the movie did make me go back in my mind and think really hard. Have I never acted like this? Have I never crossed the line? And on the other hand, it made me sympathize, as I mentioned, with a woman in a situation like this, much more so than ever before. What's also interesting is that the main character is not meant to be fully sympathetic. There are aspects of her that are sympathetic, and on a certain level, we understand her point of view, her hurt and pain and rage. But on another level, she also is fucked up. She crosses some lines. She definitely goes overboard in some aspects and is clearly quite troubled, emotionally and psychologically speaking. But then again, there is a really fucking solid reason for that. So it all goes round and round. Carey Mulligan does a great job of bringing that character to life. She continues to impress me film after film after film. She also has unbelievable chemistry with Bo Burnham, who's playing almost a version of himself, a slightly awkward guy, very sarcastic, but also smart and witty and funny. The two of them are a joy to watch together on screen, and most of their scenes bring this much needed levity to the film, this warm feeling, this joy. Most, not all of them. I also really enjoyed how the filmmakers used several actors who we know from other movies or TV shows and already associate them with good guys, with decent guys, and use them as these so-called nice guys instead, who seem okay but are not. It really works in subverting the expectations and underlining the point that really anyone can be a predator. You never really know until you know. The movie is also gorgeous to look at. There are several scenes where I went, wow, this looks absolutely fantastic. And what's more is it uses this electropop soundtrack, which in a way almost transcends the sound layer of the film and sort of merges with the image to create this audiovisual singular experience. I don't really know how to explain it properly, but the songs in this film are more than just songs. It made me think of Drive, another movie that did a similar thing with its soundtrack, and also coincidentally enough has Carey Mulligan in it as well. Final point: the ending of the film it is quite amazing, and I do admit that it goes just a little bit over the top. I think it would have been even slightly better if it was just a little bit toned down, just one or two lines less, just cut it a little bit shorter to keep it less tongue-in-cheek. When you see it, you'll understand precisely what I meant. But even so, I feel that the movie as a whole sort of earned this exaggerated ending. It deserved to have a little fun with it, so I'm fine with it, with the way it goes. On the whole, Promising Young Woman is a terrific and riveting movie. It's funny at times, terrifying at other times. It transcends genres and creates something truly unique, and it definitely leaves you thinking afterwards. Absolutely brilliant film.